Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be having a heart-to-heart with you all about my experiences in the last year as an ICU nurse. I'm going to be talking about the things that I wish I would have known before I started as an ICU nurse, and hopefully this can shed some light onto what it's really like. I think this video would be helpful to any nursing student who is thinking about going directly into the ICU when you graduate, or any nurse out there who's just thinking of transitioning into the ICU. This video may help you realize what to expect physically, emotionally, mentally, how you can prepare yourself, what you're getting yourself into. So I ultimately want to be a CRNA, which is a certified registered nurse anesthetist, and before I can start CRNA school, I need 2 years of ICU experience working as a nurse. So that is why I chose to go directly into the ICU from nursing school. I just like to be challenged, and I like to just be brutal on myself, I guess, because it is challenging. It really is. And if you have already started in the ICU, you know what I'm talking about. The first few months are so freaking hard. It is unbelievable. And it's not just hard when you're there, it's everything that goes with it. You think about it when you're not at work, when you're about to go to work, just the anxiety is real. So we're gonna be talking about these things and things that would have been nice to know before I started as an ICU nurse. If you like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe so you can follow me along on my nursing journey. So let's get into it. Mind you, I don't think I really knew what nurses did at the time when I was applying. I just assumed that I was gonna be taking blood pressures and giving shots and handing out, lollipops and stickers all day. If you would have told me then when I was applying that I would be working in the intensive care unit, less than 2 years later, I would have laughed at you. I would have said you're crazy, not a chance. But look where we are now. Well, I graduated and took the NCLEX, passed the NCLEX, and I applied at my local hospital to work in the ICU. So I went for my interview and I got a phone call like a week later, and they told me that I was hired into the ICU. I was ecstatic. I was so happy. I was like, okay, I'm following my path. These were my goals, and I'm gonna reach them. It's amazing. There were a couple months between graduation and when I was actually going to start working where I really started to get into my head about, what I really got myself into. I started getting really anxious and nervous and not knowing what to expect. So luckily, when I did really start in the ICU, I had an amazing preceptor. I actually had 2 really good preceptors, but the whole, the first 6 to 8 months where I was on my own was really hard. Now that I have gotten over that hump, I'm not 100% comfortable, but I'm a lot more comfortable in my job. I was thinking back about the things that I feel like would have been nice to know or helpful to think about, in that transition period before I started in the ICU. Now I'm going to share with you guys, some of these things. But the first thing that I think is good to realize early on is that nursing school only really prepares you for part of what it's like to be a nurse. You don't graduate nursing school ready to jump out on the floor and start working on your own. The weeks that you have with a preceptor when you're first starting on your unit are so freaking valuable. I cannot stress enough how much I took it for granted when I was working with a preceptor. Looking back now, I would have told myself so many things, to take advantage of and do while you are in your preceptorship before you are out on your own. Because once you're on your own, that's it. So I think I held back a little bit when I was with my preceptor. Instead of getting my hands dirty and doing a lot of things, I just kind of watched because I wanted to see how you do them. I wanted to watch, and with rounding with the doctors, I let my preceptors do a lot of the talking, where now I wish I would have stepped up and talked to them a lot more, because when I was on my own, that was really hard for me, was doing the rounding. I felt incompetent, like I never knew the right answers. And it took a while before I figured out, what they want to know, what they expected me to know when we're rounding. I'm a lot better about it now. I don't freak out about rounding anymore. But that was one of the hardest things, was rounding. And especially when you're with your preceptor and when you're training, they know that you're not perfect yet. They know that, you're training. So if you say something that doesn't sound great or that isn't completely accurate, if you use the wrong terminology, they're probably going to be less critical on you and maybe talk to you more in a teaching manner than a scolding manner when you're on your own and they think that you should probably know this by now. If you get all of that out of the way when you're with someone, you're going to feel a lot better and start building that confidence to talk to the doctors and the nurse practitioners and people above you that you need a little bit of confidence for to feel good about it. So take advantage of your time with your preceptor. Ask millions of questions, ask everyone questions, put in as many OG tubes as you can, as many Foleys as you can, set up arterial line, learn how to set up your bronchs, learn what's in your code cart and how to use it, how to put it on your patient, change wound vacs, start IVs, learn what paperwork needs to be done when a patient passes away, learn what you should say to family members if a patient passes away. Just expose yourself to as many things as you can while you're in your preceptorship so that you have that confidence built up. If you have these skills and being able to set up lines and stuff done and under your belt, then when you have to do it in a real situation on your own, that's not something that you're struggling with or that you're wasting time on, because you have enough that you're going to be flustered about when everything's going on, that if this is one less thing that you don't have to put that much effort into because you've done it so many times, then it's going to work to your advantage in ways that I can't even tell you. Another really important thing that I would go back and tell myself is that it is going to take a long time before you feel comfortable on your own, and that you do not need to feel bad about it. You do not need to stress yourself out about it and feel anxious about it. It's going to take time. No one expects you to come right out on your own knowing how to do everything perfectly. Even a year or 2 years in, you're not going to be exposed to every situation that you possibly can. All patients have different comorbidities and things going on, and disease processes go differently sometimes. It's not textbook, and no one expects you to come out of school feeling, really confident and great at what you do. When I first started on my own, people would tell me that it takes almost a year before you really start to feel comfortable. And so in my head, I was like, that's so awful. It's going to take me a whole year of just suffering here, feeling horrible before it gets any better. And I thought that's just how it had to be. I thought that I just had to feel bad my first year. I had to struggle, and that was that. I would come in and I'd be like, okay, only 5 more months of struggling, only 7 more months of struggling. And it was such a bad mindset. I just wish I could go back and shake myself and say, no, stop wasting. You're wasting your first few months here where you should be curious and happy and inquisitive and learning, not stressing yourself out and feeling bad. I remember the worst was that Morgan and I took a trip to England to visit his family in December, and the whole time it kept popping into my head, that I didn't want to go back to work, that I was having such a horrible experience there, and that, I wasn't going to be able to go through this first year and get past that hump. I wasn't going to be able to do it. I seriously thought about leaving the ICU and doing something else and just throwing all my plans away that I wanted for so long, because I just felt like I couldn't hack it because it was so hard. So slowly what happened was that I just started feeling less and less anxious as I went in. I started to feel better about certain things, and the anxiety just started to go, down and down and down. But looking back, I wish I would have told myself that it's okay and not to let this anxiety rule my life so much. And I'm here to tell you that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. The anxiety will go away. You will feel better, okay? But it takes time, and don't be so hard on yourself. Don't give up. You are smart enough, okay? It's not that you're not smart enough. It's not that you're incompetent. It's just that you can't possibly know everything, and you can't possibly predict what's going to happen with your patients. You don't have that experience yet. It takes time to build that. If you make a mistake, own it and make sure it doesn't happen again, but don't dwell on it. Don't dwell on it. Don't think that it's personal. It's something, don't think that it's something on you because you're just not good enough, because you are good enough. It just takes time to get to a place where you feel like it. I mean, even now, I still feel like a new nurse. I definitely feel more comfortable in my job, but I think I'm gonna feel new for another year. I'm learning new things every day, and I almost feel like that's a really cool thing about being a nurse, is that we continue to learn and grow in our profession every single shift. And this last one's a big one. You need to figure out where you are emotionally and how you're going to take care of your mental health while you're working in the ICU. Before I started nursing school, I had no idea some of the things that we have to do, especially involving when our patients pass away. Like, I had no idea that nurses are the ones that have to put the toe tag on and put a person into a body bag. I didn't think I would ever have to do that, but now it's a part of my job and I do it, regularly. And sometimes that person that you're putting into the body bag is the patient that you've just cared for 3 days in a row, who just spontaneously coded and didn't make it. Someone that you were laughing with an hour before, and now, they've passed away, and it's hard. It's really hard. These situations aren't easy, and they stay with you. I can vividly recall one of my patients who coded and passed away. I can literally picture every detail in my head about it, and it was gory and grim, and I wasn't myself for days after. I just felt really emotionally numb. I didn't know how to take it, because I knew that I'd have to deal with death and dying, but I don't think I thought about how I would react to it and how I was going to help myself get through it, especially the first couple times. And I'm sure that first patient is going to stay with me, for my whole life. I'm going to remember that. Just recently, I had 3 shifts that I worked in a row where all 3 shifts I had a patient pass away. 2 were withdrawals of care and 1 was a code. And by the 3rd one, I just felt so emotionally drained that I just felt bad. I felt like I couldn't be as compassionate, to my patient's family as I should have. But it was hard. Like, it was 3 deaths in a row. It was like I was emotionally frozen, and I was trying to think, like, how should I be reacting to this? What should I do? And I didn't know, and it was just such a weird feeling. And if there is a right or wrong way to act in that situation, I can't say. I don't think anyone can say. They tell you, be emotional, but don't break down. Be stoic and know what to say to the family. But when you're in that situation, you don't know. It's not like I asked myself to break down. I feel like when you break down, it's not controllable. But I just try and remember that these aren't my tragedies to an extent. They're sad because it's someone that I was just working with so closely, and you do care about your patients and the families, but don't make it about you. You can't take it personally and take that away from the family. It's their tragedy. So just be there for them and just figure out how you're gonna get through it yourself afterwards. I don't know if there's a right way to mentally prepare yourself for situations like this or what you can do to help yourself, but I think it's worth thinking about these situations before they happen and how are you going to feel. When you're sad, how are you gonna pull yourself out of it? Especially if it happens in the morning and you still have another 10 hours of your day, how are you going to get yourself through these few hours? These things are good to think about before they happen, before you're in the situation. So yeah, check in with yourself and never sacrifice your mental health. Just one other quick thing to remember is that the pressure is not all on you either. I felt when I first started that, it's my patient, I have to own everything, it's all on me, but it really isn't. You have a team, you have your charge nurse, you have other floor nurses, you have your doctor, your nurse practitioner, pharmacist, respiratory therapist. It is not all on you. So utilize your resources and it'll help you tremendously. So yeah, those are some things that I wish I knew before I started working in the ICU. Take advantage of your time with your preceptor. Know that it's going to take a lot of time before you feel comfortable on your own. Figure out where you stand mentally and emotionally and how you're going to help yourself cope with bad days. And finally, know that it is not just you. You have a whole team of people there who are supporting you. I hope that if you're thinking about becoming an ICU nurse that you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching and for listening to me talk about my experiences. I wish you all the best of luck in whatever career path you decide to take with nursing. Nursing is just such a wonderful profession, and with all of the heartache that the last year has held, it has brought me so much joy and a sense of pride that I am making a difference in this world. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.